It was a cold, quiet morning in the small town of Bridgewood. Detective Anna Carter sat in her modest office, sipping her coffee as the sun crept over the horizon. Her routine was simple: arrive early, review reports, and prepare for the day ahead. But today was different. A knock on the door interrupted her peace, and Officer Daniels stepped inside, his face pale. "We've got a case," he said, handing her a file. "Emily Parker, 24 years old. She went missing last night." Anna quickly scanned the file. Emily was a local art student known for her talent and quiet demeanor. Her family had reported her missing when she didn't come home after her evening class. "What do we know so far?" Anna asked, already feeling the familiar spark of determination. "She was last seen near the old train station," Daniels replied. "Her car is still parked there, but there's no sign of her." Anna and Daniels drove to the train station, the cold air biting at their faces as they stepped out of the car. The station was abandoned, its walls covered in graffiti and its windows shattered. It was the kind of place most people avoided, especially at night. As they approached Emily's car, Anna noticed something unusual. The driver's door was slightly open, and a scarf lay on the ground nearby. "This must be hers," Anna said, picking it up carefully. It was a bright red scarf, the kind that would be hard to miss. She scanned the area, her sharp eyes catching a set of footprints leading away from the car. "Daniels, look at this," she said, pointing to the tracks. "They're fresh," Daniels observed. "Someone must have been here recently." Following the footprints, Anna and Daniels came across a man sitting on a bench near the station. He was hunched over, his hands stuffed into his coat pockets. As they approached, he looked up, his eyes wary. "Detective Carter," Anna introduced herself. "We're investigating a missing person. Did you see anything unusual here last night?" The man hesitated, his gaze darting to the side. "I might have," he said slowly. "I saw a woman arguing with someone near the station. A tall man, wearing a black hoodie." "Did you see where they went?" Anna pressed. "They headed toward the tracks," the man said. "But I didn't stick around. Didn't want any trouble." Anna's mind raced as they followed the tracks. The tall man in the black hoodie could be their suspect, but they needed more evidence. As they walked, Anna's eyes caught something shiny in the dirt. She bent down and picked up a silver locket. Opening it, she found a small photo inside, a picture of Emily smiling with her family. "This belongs to her," Anna said, her voice firm. She must have dropped it during the struggle. The discovery deepened the mystery. Who was the man in the hoodie, and why was Emily arguing with him? Anna knew they were only scratching the surface of a much larger puzzle. Their search led them to an old storage building near the edge of town. The door was ajar, and inside, the faint glow of a flashlight flickered. Anna motioned for Daniels to stay quiet as they entered, their footsteps light against the concrete floor. The room was cluttered with boxes and old furniture, but in the corner they found something chilling: a sketchbook. Flipping through the pages, Anna recognized Emily's style immediately. The sketches were dark, depicting shadowy figures and eerie scenes. On the last page, a single word was scrawled in bold letters: "Help." The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the danger was far from over. Anna could feel it in her gut. Whoever had taken Emily was still out there, watching, waiting. Anna sat in her car outside the storage building, her thoughts racing. The sketchbook was a clue, a window into Emily's world, but it also raised new questions. Who was the shadowy figure Emily had drawn? Was it the man in the black hoodie? Daniels broke the silence. "What do you think, detective? Could Emily have known her abductor?" Anna nodded slowly. It's possible. The drawings suggest she was afraid of someone, but we need more proof. They decided to dig into Emily's background, starting with her art class. Let's talk to her teacher, Anna said. Maybe they noticed something unusual. The art studio was quiet, the smell of paint lingering in the air. Emily's teacher, Ms. Harper, graded them with a concerned expression. I heard about Emily, she said. This is terrible. She's such a talented student. Did you notice anything unusual about her recently? Anna asked. Did she mention anyone or seem worried? Ms. Harper hesitated. Well, a few weeks ago, she started staying late after class to work on a project. She said it was important, but she wouldn't tell me what it was. She seemed distracted. Do you know what she was working on? Daniels asked. Miss Harper shook her head. No, but she kept her sketches in her locker. Maybe you'll find something there. Back at the studio, Anna and Daniels opened Emily's locker. Inside, they found more sketches, each one more disturbing than the last. The shadowy figure appeared again and again, looming over Emily in different scenes. One sketch stood out, a detailed drawing of the train station. In the corner, Emily had written a date and timing: Friday, 8 p.m. This must be when she went missing, Daniel said. She planned to meet someone there. Anna studied the sketch closely. She wasn't just meeting someone, she said. She was scared. This was a trap. As they left the studio, Anna's phone buzzed. It was a call from an unknown number. She answered cautiously. Detective Carter. A deep voice replied, distorted and chilling. You're getting too close, detective. Stay out of this, or you'll regret it. The line went dead, leaving Anna gripping her phone tightly. Daniels looked at her, alarmed. What was that? Someone who doesn't want us to find Emily, Anna said grimly. But now we know we're on the right track. The team worked late into the night, piecing together what they had. The man in the hoodie was still their prime suspect, but now they had a time and place. Friday, 8 p.m. at the train station. Anna reviewed the security footage from nearby businesses. At 7:55 p.m., a black car pulled into the station's parking lot. A tall man got out, wearing a hoodie. Moments later, Emily arrived, her movements hesitant. The two exchanged words, and then the man grabbed her arm. He forced her into the car, Daniel said, his voice tense. Anna paused the footage. Look at the license plate. We've got him. Tracing the plate led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building was dark, its windows boarded up. Anna and Daniels approached cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Inside, they found more of Emily's belongings. A scarf, her sketchbook, and a notebook with cryptic notes. One phrase was repeated over and over: trust no one. Anna's gut told her they were close, but the danger was escalating. Whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to scare them. They were prepared to fight back. Anna and Daniels stood outside the warehouse, the eerie silence sending chills down their spines. They had backup on the way, but Anna couldn't wait. Every second mattered. Emily was running out of time. I don't like this, Daniels said. His voice was low, but the concern was clear. What if it's a trap? It is, Anna said, gripping her flashlight. But we don't have a choice. Emily's here. I can feel it. They pushed the heavy door open, the creak echoing through the empty halls. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of oil and rust. The warehouse was massive, with rows of crates stacked to the ceiling. Anna's flashlight scanned the area, landing on a piece of torn fabric caught on a nail. It was pink, the same color as Emily's jacket. She was here, Anna whispered. Daniels crouched down, picking up a small piece of paper from the floor. It was a drawing of the shadowy figure. This time, the figure had a knife. "This guy's taunting us," Daniel said. "He wants us to be scared." Anna shook her head. "No, this isn't just a game. This is his way of leaving a trail. He wants us to follow him." In the corner of the warehouse, they found a door leading to the basement. It was slightly ajar, the darkness beyond it impenetrable. "This has to be it," Anna said. Daniels hesitated. "We should wait for backup." Anna's jaw tightened. "We don't have time. If she's down there, we need to act now." She pulled out her weapon and nodded to Daniels. Together, they descended the narrow staircase, their footsteps echoing on the cold concrete. The basement was even larger than they'd expected, with dim overhead lights casting long shadows. As they moved deeper, they heard a faint sound, a muffled cry. "Emily," Anna called out. The cry grew louder. They followed it to a locked door. Daniels tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. "It's locked," he said. Anna examined the lock. "Stand back." She fired at it, the sound deafening in the confined space. The door swung open, revealing a small room. Emily was inside, her hands tied and her face pale. She looked up them, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Help me," she whispered. As they freed Emily, a sudden noise behind them made Anna spin around. A figure stepped out of the shadows, the man in the hoodie. He held a gun, his face hidden. "Drop your weapons," he said, his voice cold and steady. Anna and Daniels exchanged a glance. They were trapped, but Anna wasn't ready to give up. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice calm but firm. "It's over. Let her go." The man laughed. "It's not over. This is just the beginning." Daniels slowly raised his hands, distracting the man while Anna inched closer. She saw her chance and lunged, knocking the gun from his hand. A struggle ensued, the two of them grappling in the dim light. "Get Emily out of here," Anna shouted to Daniels. Daniels grabbed Emily and led her toward the stairs. Anna fought with everything she had, finally pinning the man to the ground. "You're not going anywhere," she said, cuffing his hands behind his back. Outside, the flashing lights of police cars illuminated the night. Emily was safe, wrapped in a blanket and sitting in the back of an ambulance. Anna emerged from the warehouse, bruised but relieved. She looked at Emily and gave her a small smile. "You're safe now." Emily nodded, her voice trembling. "Thank you." The suspect sat in the interrogation room, his hands cuffed to the table. His hoodie had been removed, revealing a pale, unshaven face. He stared at the two-way mirror, a smirk playing on his lips. Anna stood behind the glass, watching him carefully. Daniels leaned against the wall beside her, his arms crossed. "He's too calm," Daniels said. "He thinks he's in control." Anna nodded. "Let's change that." She entered the room, her steps confident and deliberate. She placed a thick folder on the table and sat across from him. "You've been busy, haven't you?" The man chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Busy? I don't know what you're talking about." Anna opened the folder, revealing photos of Emily tied up in the basement. "You think this is a joke. You kidnapped a child. That's not something you can laugh off." He shrugged. "You're assuming I did it. Maybe someone else left her there." Anna's jaw tightened. "We have evidence. Your fingerprints on the lock, her description of you, and the trail you left. You wanted us to find her. Why?" The man leaned forward, his eyes glinting with malice. "Because it's fun. Watching you scramble, trying to play hero. It's pathetic." Outside the interrogation room, Daniels was reviewing Emily's statement. She had described the man in detail. His voice, his clothes, even the scar on his hand. Daniels re-entered the room, placing a small voice recorder on the table. "Emily remembered everything," he said. You didn't scare her enough to forget? The man's smirk faltered for a brief moment, but he quickly recovered. Kids have wild imaginations. You can't trust what they say. Anna leaned closer, her voice low and steady. She's braver than you'll ever be, and she's going to help us put you away for a long time. Hours passed, and the interrogation continued. The man refused to admit anything, but Anna noticed cracks in his demeanor. His hands fidgeted, and he avoided her gaze whenever Emily's name was mentioned. Finally, she decided to shift her approach. You didn't start with Emily, did you? She asked, her tone softer. There were others. People you hurt, lives you destroyed. Why? He stiffened, his smirk vanishing. You don't know anything about me. Anna leaned back, crossing her arms. Maybe I don't. But I know you're not as confident as you pretend to be. People like you always slip up. As they dug deeper into his past, Anna and Daniels uncovered more disturbing details. He had a record. Small offenses at first, but they escalated over the years. Theft, assault, stalking. Anna brought up one of his earlier victims, a young woman who had narrowly escaped his clutches. She described you the same way Emily did, Anna said. You're a predator, and now you've been caught. The man's composure cracked. He slammed his hands on the table, glaring at Anna. You don't understand! They deserved it! Anna didn't flinch. Deserved what? Tell me. His outburst was the break they needed. Over the next hour, he spilled everything, his frustrations, his twisted justifications, and his plans for Emily. She wasn't supposed to be found. He admitted, his voice shaking. Not yet. I wanted more time. Anna's stomach turned, but she kept her focus. Time for what? To show the world how blind they are, he said. People like me were invisible. But not anymore. With his confession recorded, Anna and Daniels left the room. The weight of the case settled on Anna's shoulders as she walked down the hall. Daniels placed a hand on her shoulder. You did it. Emily's safe, and he's going away for life. Anna nodded, though the victory felt bittersweet. One less monster on the streets, she said. But there are always more. As they exited the station, the morning sun was rising. Anna looked up at the sky, determined to keep fighting for justice. The news of the arrest spread quickly, with headlines praising the police for rescuing Emily and catching the kidnapper. But for Anna, the case didn't feel over. She sat at her desk, looking at the evidence board. Photos of Emily, the suspect, and other loose ends stared back at her. Daniels walked in, holding 2 cups of coffee. You should take a break, he said, placing one in front of her. The case is closed. He confessed. Anna sipped her coffee, shaking her head. There's something we're missing. He said Emily wasn't supposed to be found yet. What was he planning? Meanwhile, Emily was safe at home with her parents. She was quieter than usual, her big eyes filled with thoughts she couldn't put into words. Her mother sat beside her on the couch, brushing her hair. It's okay now. Sweetie, her mother whispered. You're safe. Emily nodded but didn't speak. She clutched a small teddy bear that Anna had given her at the station. Her father knelt in front of her. Do you remember anything else, Emily? Anything about that man? Emily hesitated, then whispered. He talked about other kids. He said I was lucky. Back at the station, Daniels replayed the suspect's confession. Anna was right. There was more to his plan. He wanted to send a message, Daniels said, leaning back in his chair. Anna stared at the board, her mind racing. He didn't just want attention. He wanted to prove something. What if Emily was just the beginning? They pulled up missing person reports from the last year, focusing on cases with similar patterns. The results were chilling. 3 other children had gone missing in the same area, all around the same age. Anna and Daniels worked late into the night, piecing together a timeline. The suspects' movements, the locations of the kidnappings, and the commonalities between the victims painted a grim picture. "He's not working alone," Anna said, her voice firm. "There's a bigger operation here." Emily was just one piece of their puzzle. Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. "If that's true, then we need to find the others. Fast." They requested a warrant to search the suspect's home again, focusing on hidden compartments or digital records. The second search yielded a breakthrough. Hidden behind a loose floorboard, they found a notebook filled with names, dates, and coordinates. Each name was crossed out except for Emily's. Anna's heart sank as she flipped through the pages. These are his targets, the ones he took, and the ones he didn't get to yet. Daniels pointed at the coordinates. These could be drop-off points or safe houses. We need to act now. With the help of a special task force, Anna and Daniels led a raid on one of the locations listed in the notebook. The abandoned warehouse was eerily quiet as they entered, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. In the far corner, they found 2 children locked in a small room. They were scared but unharmed. Anna knelt down, her voice gentle. "You're safe now. We're here to take you home." As the team secured the area, Anna felt a surge of relief. But she knew their work wasn't over. Back at the station, Emily's parents brought her to visit Anna. Emily ran up to her, hugging her tightly. "Thank you for saving me," she said softly. Anna smiled, kneeling to meet her eyes. "You're very brave, Emily. You helped us save others, too." As Emily left with her parents, Anna felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. She turned to Daniels, determination in her eyes. "We're not done yet. Let's find the rest of them." Daniels nodded, his expression serious. "Let's bring them all home." Amelia loved her little flower shop, nestled on the quiet corner of Pine Street. Every morning, she unlocked the door, inhaling the fresh scent of roses, lilies, and daisies. The shop was her safe space, filled with vibrant colors and southern fragrances. She often lost herself in arranging blooms, creating beauty in the simplest of ways. Today started like any other. The morning sun filtered through the windows, casting a golden glow over the shelves. Amelia arranged a display of pink tulips when the familiar jingle of the doorbell startled her. She looked up to see a tall man step inside, his confident stride catching her attention immediately. He wore a sharp navy suit, the kind that screamed power and wealth. His shoes were polished, his hair neatly styled, but his expression was tense, almost impatient. For a moment, Amelia froze, unsure whether to greet him or let him approach first. The man's piercing blue eyes scanned the shop before landing on her. "I need a bouquet," he said abruptly, his voice firm and authoritative. Amelia blinked, slightly taken aback by his directness. "Of course," she replied, forcing a smile. "What kind of bouquet are you looking for?" The man sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Something elegant, but not overly flashy. It's for a business meeting," he added, almost as an afterthought. Amelia nodded, stepping toward the cooler to pick out flowers. She worked quickly, selecting white lilies, green hydrangeas, and soft eucalyptus leaves. As she arranged the bouquet, she could feel his gaze following her every movement. It wasn't just a casual glance, it was sharp, analytical, as though he were trying to figure her out. "Busy day?" she asked, hoping to break the silence. He shrugged, his jaw tightening. "You could say that," he replied curtly. Amelia bit her lip, sensing that he wasn't the chatty type. When she handed him the finished bouquet, his fingers brushed hers briefly, sending an unexpected jolt through her. She quickly withdrew her hand, hiding her reaction. "This should be perfect," she said, her voice steady. He inspected the arrangement, nodding in approval. "Thank you," he said, handing over his credit card. His tone was more sincere this time, softer even. Amelia processed the payment, her curiosity about this stranger growing. Before she could say anything else, he turned to leave, the bouquet in hand. As the door closed behind him, the bell jingled once more. Amelia stood there for a moment, staring at the spot where he had been. Something about him lingered in her mind, a strange mix of intrigue and irritation. What a charmer, she muttered under her breath, shaking her head. She turned back to her work, not realizing that this brief encounter would change her life in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Later that day, Amelia found herself glancing at the door whenever the bell rang. It was silly, she thought, to wonder if he might come back. After all, he was just another customer. But something about him, his intensity, his presence, had left an impression. As the evening approached, Amelia closed up the shop, the mysterious man still on her mind. She told herself to forget about him, but deep down, she knew that this was only the beginning. The next morning, Amelia opened her shop as usual, the scent of fresh blooms filling the air. She busied herself with arranging new bouquets, her hands moving instinctively as her mind wandered. She couldn't shake the image of the mysterious man from the day before. As the hours passed, customers came and went, but none held her interest for long. She glanced at the clock. It was nearly noon. Just as she was about to head to the back room for a quick break, the doorbell jingled. She looked up, and there he was. This time, he wasn't in a suit. He wore a light gray sweater and dark jeans, his demeanor noticeably more relaxed. Amelia felt her heart skip a beat, but she quickly composed herself. "Back for more flowers?" she asked, trying to sound casual. The man offered a small smile. The tension in his face from yesterday noticeably softened. "Actually, yes," he said, stepping closer to the counter. "But this time, it's personal, not business." Amelia raised an eyebrow, intrigued by his sudden change in tone. "I need something special," he continued, his voice quieter now. "Let's for my mother's birthday. She loves flowers, and I thought I'd surprise her." Amelia's heart warmed at his words. The idea of this seemingly stoic man going out of his way for his mother was endearing. "What's her favorite flower?" Amelia asked, grabbing a notepad to jot down ideas. The man hesitated, his brow furrowing slightly. "Roses?" he said after a moment. "Pink ones, I think." Amelia nodded, already envisioning the bouquet. As she worked, she decided to make conversation. "I don't think I caught your name yesterday," she said, glancing up at him. He seemed taken aback for a moment before replying. "It's Ethan." "And you're Amelia?" she said with a smile. "Nice to officially meet you, Ethan." He nodded, his lips curving into a slight smile. For a moment, they held each other's gaze before Amelia returned her focus to the bouquet. She carefully arranged the pink roses, adding white baby's breath and delicate greenery for contrast. The bouquet was simple yet elegant, perfect for a birthday gift. When she finished, she handed it to Ethan, who examined it with quiet appreciation. "This is perfect," he said, his voice sincere. "Thank you, Amelia." She felt a strange warmth at hearing her name from his lips, but she brushed it off. "You're welcome," she replied. "I hope your mom loves it." As he paid, Ethan hesitated, as if he wanted to say something else. Amelia waited, her curiosity growing. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Do you always work here alone?" he asked, his tone casual but his eyes intense. Most of the time, Amelia said, shrugging. It's my shop, so I like being here. Why do you ask? Ethan seemed to consider his words carefully before answering. Just seems like a lot to handle on your own, he said, his gaze flickering around the shop. Amelia smiled, touched by his concern. It can be, but I love it. Flowers make people happy, and that makes it all worth it. Ethan nodded, a thoughtful look crossing his face. Well, if you ever need an extra pair of hands, let me know, he said, surprising her. I'm not great with flowers, but I can learn. Amelia laughed, the sound light and genuine. You'll keep that in mind, she said, her smile lingering. Ethan left shortly after, the bouquet in hand. Amelia watched him go, a strange mix of emotions swirling within her. There was something about him, something she couldn't quite put into words. Over the next few days, Ethan became a regular visitor at the shop. Sometimes he came to buy flowers, and other times he simply stopped by to chat. Each visit brought them closer, their conversations growing longer and more personal. Amelia learned that Ethan was a successful architect with a passion for designing homes. He told her about his childhood, his travels, and his dreams for the future. In turn, she shared her own story. How she had inherited the flower shop from her grandmother and how it had become her sanctuary. The more they talked, the more Amelia found herself looking forward to his visits. She tried to remind herself that he was just a customer, but deep down, she knew it was more than that. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's visits to the flower shop became Amelia's favorite moments. Whenever the doorbell jingled, her heart leaped with hope. Most times, it was him, walking in with his charming smile and easy demeanor. One chilly afternoon, Ethan arrived holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. Amelia looked up from a bouquet she was arranging and laughed. Coffee delivery, she asked, her tone playful. He grinned, setting the cups on the counter. You looked like you could use a break, he said. You're always working so hard in here. The warmth of the coffee matched the warmth that filled Amelia's heart. Their conversations flowed effortlessly. Ethan shared stories of his architectural projects, while Amelia talked about her favorite flowers and the customers who loved them. They laughed often, a bond quietly forming between them. One day, Ethan noticed a photo on the wall. It was of Amelia as a child, holding a bouquet of daisies. Is that you? He asked, stepping closer to examine it. The memories that shape us, Amelia nodded, a nostalgic smile spreading across her face. That's me and my grandmother, she said. She taught me everything I know about flowers. This shop was her dream, and now it's mine. Ethan studied the pride and sadness in her expression. She must have been an amazing woman, he said softly. She was, Amelia replied. I just hope I'm making her proud. Her voice carried a vulnerability that made Ethan's admiration for her grow. You are, Ethan said, with conviction. This place is beautiful, and so are the things you create. Anyone who walks in can feel the love you've poured into it. His words touched Amelia deeply, leaving her momentarily speechless. Instead of replying, she simply smiled, her cheeks warming under his gaze. For the first time, let's get started, she realized how much she looked forward to Ethan's presence in her world. Unspoken secrets as their friendship grew. Amelia started wondering about Ethan's life outside the shop. He rarely mentioned his personal life, and she hesitated to pry. But one day, her curiosity won. Ethan, she began, her hands busy arranging lilies. You never talk about your family. Besides your mom, is there anyone close to you? Ethan's cheerful demeanor faded. He looked down, his expression guarded. There was someone, he said after a pause. But it didn't work out. Amelia sensed the weight of his words and chose not to push further. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "I didn't mean to bring up anything painful." "It's okay," Ethan replied, forcing a smile. Some things aren't meant to be. But Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his story. A story he wasn't ready to share. A token of friendship, the next morning, Amelia decided to brighten Ethan's day. She created a small arrangement of yellow roses, symbolizing friendship and new beginnings. When Ethan arrived later, she handed it to him with a shy smile. "What's this for?" he asked, surprised by the gesture. "Just a thank you," Amelia said simply. "For all the coffee, the stories, and just for being you." Ethan looked at the bouquet, his expression softening. "You didn't have to do this," he said, though his voice was full of gratitude. "I wanted to," Amelia replied. Their eyes met for a brief moment, unspoken emotions hanging in the air. "Thank you," Ethan said sincerely. "It means a lot." As he left with the flowers, Amelia felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, their paths were meant to intertwine in ways neither of them had imagined. As winter settled in, the flower shop became a haven of warmth and color amidst the cold. Ethan's visit continued, each one bringing a sense of comfort to Amelia's days. The snow piled high outside, but inside their connection grew like a delicate bud finding the light. One snowy evening, Amelia decided to close early. She stepped outside to lock the door, only to find Ethan waiting on the sidewalk. He held a scarf in his hand. "You forgot this at the coffee shop yesterday," he said, smiling sheepishly. Amelia laughed, taking the scarf from him. "Thank you," she said. "You're becoming my personal lost and found service." The playful banter felt natural, as if they'd known each other for years. Ethan hesitated before speaking again. "Are you free tonight? There's a new exhibit at the art gallery downtown. I thought it might be something you'd like." Amelia blinked in surprise, her heart skipping a beat. "That sounds lovely," she said. "Let me grab my coat." An evening of discovery, the art gallery glowed with soft lights and murmurs of conversation. Ethan and Amelia strolled through the exhibits, their footsteps echoing on the polished floors. Ethan pointed out architectural pieces, while Amelia admired paintings of nature that reminded her of the flowers she loved. They paused in front of a sculpture, its lines flowing like petals in the wind. "It's beautiful," Amelia whispered, her voice full of awe. "It reminds me of you," Ethan said softly. Amelia turned to him, her cheeks warming. She searched his face for signs of teasing, but found only sincerity. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely audible. She looked away, feeling the rush of emotions she wasn't quite ready to name. A moment of vulnerability as they left the gallery, the cold air wrapped around like a blanket. Ethan offered his arm, and Amelia took it, grateful for the warmth. They walked in silence, the snow crunching beneath their feet. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said after a while, his voice tentative. "Of course," Amelia replied. "Why flowers?" he asked. "Out of all the things you could do, why run a flower shop?" Amelia thought for a moment, her breath visible in the frosty air. "Because flowers make people happy," she said. "They're simple, but they carry so much meaning. I like being part of people's special moments, even if it's just in a small way." Ethan nodded, his admiration for her growing. "That's beautiful," he said. "You're amazing, Amelia." The confession, by the time they reached Amelia's shop, the streets were quiet, the world blanketed in snow. Ethan hesitated, his hands buried in his coat pockets. "I've been meaning to tell you something," he said, his voice low. Amelia turned to him, her heart pounding. "What is it?" she asked. though she wasn't sure she wanted the answer. "I didn't just stumble into your shop that day," Ethan admitted. "I saw it on my way to work and kept thinking about it. Something about you drew me in, and now I can't imagine not being here." Amelia's breath caught. She searched his face for signs of jest, but found only earnestness. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say I can keep coming back," Ethan said, a hopeful smile tugging at his lips. Amelia felt a warmth spread through her chest. "You can," she said simply. Unspoken promises as Ethan walked away that night. Amelia stood in the doorway of her shop, watching his figure disappear into the falling snow. Her heart was full, her thoughts swirling with emotions she could no longer deny. Inside, she looked at the bouquet of yellow roses he had left behind weeks ago. She smiled, knowing that their story was only just beginning. The days that followed were filled with a quiet anticipation. Amelia and Ethan fell into an unspoken rhythm. He visited the flower shop almost daily, sometimes with a cup of coffee, other times just to say hello. Each visit brought new stories, shared laughter, and the unspoken understanding that their lives were becoming intertwined. One morning, Ethan arrived with a bouquet of his own. It wasn't grand or elaborate, just a handful of wildflowers tied together with twine. "These reminded me of you," he said, handing them to Amelia. She took them, her heart fluttering. "They're beautiful," she said, her fingers brushing his as she accepted the bouquet. She set them in a vase near the counter, their vibrant colors brightening the shop. A special invitation that evening, as Amelia was closing the shop, Ethan appeared at the door. "Do you have plans tomorrow night?" he asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Amelia shook her head. "Not yet." "Why?" "There's a winter festival in the park," he said. "There will be lights, music, and food stalls. I thought maybe we could go together." Amelia smiled. "I'd love to," she said. The next night, they met at the park, where twinkling lights hung from trees, and the scent of roasted chestnuts filled the air. They wandered from stall to stall, sampling treats and laughing like children. Under a canopy of lights, Ethan stopped and turned to Amelia. "This is perfect," he said, his eyes soft as they met hers. "It is," Amelia agreed, her cheeks flushed from the cold and the warmth of his gaze. The first kiss as the evening drew to a close. They found themselves standing by a frozen pond. The world around them was quiet, save for the distant hum of music and laughter. Ethan took a step closer to Amelia. "I never expected this," he said. "Meeting you has been the best surprise of my life." Amelia felt her heart swell. "Me too," she said. "You've made my days brighter, Ethan." He smiled, reaching for her hand. For a moment they stood in silence, their breaths visible in the frosty air. Then, slowly, Ethan leaned in, and Amelia closed the distance between them. Their first kiss was gentle, sweet, and full of unspoken promises, building a future from that moment on. Their relationship blossomed. They spent their days exploring the city, sharing their dreams, and supporting each other's passions. Ethan often helped out at the flower shop, learning the names of the blooms and laughing at his clumsy attempts at arranging bouquets. Amelia, in turn, accompanied Ethan on architectural tours, marveling at his ability to see beauty in even the smallest details. Together, they inspired each other to dream bigger and cherish life's simple joys. The grand gesture one crisp spring morning, Ethan walked into the flower shop with a peculiar look on his face. "Close the shop for the day," he said, holding out a note. Amelia looked at him quizzically, but followed his lead. He led her to the park, where they'd shared their first kiss. Under the same canopy of lights, he handed her a bouquet of yellow roses. "Amelia," he said, his voice steady. "You've brought so much love and light into my life. I don't ever want to let it go. Will you marry me?" Amelia's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with joy. Happily ever after, their wedding was a celebration of love, held in the flower shop that had brought them together. Surrounded by family, friends, and the blooms that told their story, they promised to cherish each other forever. As they danced under the twinkling lights, Amelia looked up at Ethan and smiled. "I think this is the happiest ending I could ever imagine," she said. Ethan laughed, pulling her close. "It's just the beginning," he replied. And together, they stepped into a future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. It is early in the morning. The sun is rising and the sky is light blue. Emma wakes up in her cozy bed. She stretches her arms and yawns. "Good morning," she says softly to herself. The birds are singing outside her window. Emma gets out of bed and puts on her slippers. She walks to the bathroom. In the mirror, she sees her sleepy face. She smiles and brushes her teeth. The toothpaste is minty and fresh. "No, I feel awake," she says. After brushing her teeth, Emma washes her face with warm water. The water feels nice on her skin. She dries her face with a soft towel. Then she combs her hair. Her hair is shiny and smooth. She looks ready to start her day. Emma walks to the kitchen. She is hungry, so she makes breakfast. First, she takes out bread, eggs, and milk. She toasts the bread and cooks the eggs. The smell of food fills the kitchen. "This smells so good," Emma says. Emma sits at the table to eat her breakfast. She takes a bite of the toast. It is crispy and warm. She drinks a glass of milk. It is cold and fresh. While eating, she looks outside the window. The sun is shining, and the day looks beautiful. After breakfast, Emma washes her dishes. She rinses the plates and cups with water. Then, she dries them with a clean towel. She likes to keep her kitchen tidy. "A clean kitchen is a happy kitchen," she says with a smile. Emma puts on her favorite clothes for the day. She chooses a blue dress and comfortable shoes. She looks in the mirror and smiles. "I feel good today," she says. She picks up her bag and checks her list for the day. She walks to the door and opens it. The fresh morning air greets her. She takes a deep breath and feels happy. "Today is going to be a great day," Emma says. She steps outside and starts her morning walk. Emma walks through the park near her house. The grass is green and soft. Children are playing on the swings, and people are walking their dogs. Emma waves to a neighbor and says, "Good morning." As Emma walks, she hears the sound of the wind in the trees. She sees flowers in different colors, red, yellow, and pink. She stops for a moment to smell a rose. It smells sweet and nice. Emma continues her walk and feels the sun on her face. She feels happy and full of energy. "What a lovely morning," she thinks. She enjoys every step of her walk and feels ready for the rest of her day. After her walk, Emma returns home. She feels energized and ready to do her chores. First, she takes off her shoes and puts them neatly by the door. She washes her hands with soap and water. The soap smells like flowers. Emma goes to the living room to clean. She picks up a duster and wipes the furniture. The table, the shelves, and the TV stand all look shiny now. She hums a little tune while she cleans. "Cleaning can be fun," she says. Next, Emma picks up a broom to sweep the floor. She sweeps every corner carefully. The sound of the broom moving on the floor is soft and rhythmic. "I like a clean house," Emma says to herself. Emma collects the trash from the bins. She ties the trash bag and takes it outside. The trash truck is coming soon. She waves at the driver and says, "Thank you for your hard work." The driver smiles and waves back. After cleaning, Emma goes to her small garden. She has plants in pots near her window. The flowers are bright and colorful. Emma takes her watering can and waters the plants. Plants need water to grow, she says. She also checks the soil in her vegetable pots. The tomatoes are growing well. Emma feels proud of her little garden. Soon I can use these tomatoes for cooking, she thinks. She smiles and feels happy about her hard work. Now it is time for Emma to plan her day. She sits at her desk with her notebook. She writes a list of tasks she needs to do. 1. Go to the store. 2. Call mom. 3. Read a book. She adds a few more tasks and feels organized. Emma decides to call her mom first. She picks up the phone and dials the number. "Hi, Mom," she says cheerfully. They talk for a while. Emma tells her mom about her morning walk and her garden. Her mom sounds happy to hear from her. After the call, Emma gets ready to go to the store. She takes her shopping bag and her list. The store is not far from her house, so she decides to walk. She puts on her hat and steps outside again. On her way to the store, Emma sees many people. She smiles at them and says, "Hello." The street is busy, but everyone seems friendly. Emma enjoys looking at the shop windows as she walks. When she reaches the store, Emma takes a cart. She pushes it carefully down the aisles. She looks at her list and picks out what she needs. Bread, milk, eggs, and some vegetables go into her cart. At the checkout, Emma greets the cashier. "Good morning," she says with a smile. The cashier smiles back and says, "Good morning. Did you find everything you need?" Emma nods and thanks the cashier. Emma carries her bags and walks home. The sun is higher in the sky now, and it feels warm. She enjoys the walk and looks forward to lunch. "I think I will make a salad today," she thinks. When Emma gets home, she puts away the groceries. She arranges the fruits and vegetables neatly in the fridge. She washes her hands again and starts preparing lunch. She feels proud of how much she has done this morning. Emma begins preparing her lunch. She takes out fresh vegetables from the frigid lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers. She washes them carefully under running water. Clean vegetables make a healthy meal, she says to herself. She cuts the vegetables into small pieces. The knife moves slowly and safely as she slices the tomatoes. Emma loves the bright red color of the tomatoes. This will be a delicious salad, she thinks. Next, she adds a pinch of salt and a drizzle of olive oil. She mixes everything in a big bowl. The salad looks fresh and colorful. Emma takes a fork and tastes a small bite. "Yum," she says with a big smile. To complete her lunch, Emma makes a sandwich. She spreads some butter on bread and adds cheese. She puts the sandwich on a plate next to her salad. "A simple lunch is the best," she says happily. Emma sits at the dining table to eat. She enjoys every bite of her meal. The salad is crunchy and the sandwich is soft and tasty. She drinks a glass of water and feels refreshed. This is a good day, she thinks. After lunch, Emma clears the table. She rinses her plate and glass in the sink. She likes keeping her kitchen clean. The sound of running water is calming to her. "A clean space makes me happy," she says. Now, Emma has some free time. She decides to read a book. She chooses a storybook from her shelf. The book has many pictures and simple words. Emma loves reading stories about adventures and faraway places. She sits on her couch and opens the book. The first page has a picture of a big ship on the ocean. Emma imagines herself on the ship, traveling to new lands. She feels excited as she reads each page. The story is about a girl named Lily who finds a treasure map. Emma reads about Lily's adventures on the island. She smiles and laughs at the funny parts. She feels like she is part of the story. After finishing a few chapters, Emma takes a break. She stretches her arms and stands up. It's time to go outside again, she thinks. She loves spending time in the fresh air. Emma decides to visit the park near her house. She changes into comfortable shoes and grabs a small bag. Inside the bag, she puts a water bottle and her favorite snack. She is ready for an afternoon walk. At the park, Emma sees children playing. They are running and laughing. Their happiness makes Emma smile. She walks along the path and listens to the birds singing in the trees. Emma finds a bench and sits down. She takes a deep breath and feels the cool breeze on her face. She enjoys watching the people around her. Some are jogging, and some are walking their dogs. She takes out her snack, a small box of grapes. Emma eats them one by one, enjoying their sweet taste. She drinks some water and feels refreshed. This is a peaceful moment, she thinks. Before leaving the park, Emma decides to take some photos. She uses her phone to capture the flowers and trees. The colors are so bright and beautiful. Emma loves keeping memories of special places. Emma heads home as the sun begins to set. The sky turns orange and pink. What a lovely afternoon, she says to herself. She feels calm and happy after her time at the park. When Emma gets home, she takes off her shoes and puts them neatly by the door. She drinks a glass of water and thinks about the rest of her day. She feels thankful for the simple joys in life. As the evening begins, Emma feels ready to relax. She changes into her comfortable home clothes. The soft fabric makes her feel cozy. Evenings are my favorite time to unwind, she thinks. Emma walks to her living room and switches on a small lamp. The warm light makes the room feel calm and peaceful. She sits on her couch and decides to watch her favorite show on TV. The show is about animals in the wild. Emma watches as a group of elephants walk through a forest. She loves learning about nature and enjoys the soft, soothing voice of the narrator. While watching the show, Emma starts to feel hungry. She pauses the TV and goes to the kitchen. It's time to make dinner, she says with a smile. She opens her fridge to check what she has. Emma decides to make pasta for dinner. She fills a pot with water and places it on the stove. The water begins to boil, and she adds a handful of pasta. The steam rises, and the kitchen smells warm and inviting. As the pasta cooks, Emma prepares the sauce. She heats some oil in a pan and adds chopped onions and garlic. The sizzle of the pan makes her feel like a chef. Cooking is so much fun, she says to herself. Next, Emma adds tomatoes and a pinch of salt. She stirs the sauce slowly, letting it cook until it becomes thick and rich. The smell fills the kitchen, making her even hungrier. When the pasta is ready, Emma drains the water and adds the pasta to the sauce. She mixes them together, making sure every piece is coated. She sprinkles some cheese on top for extra flavor. Emma sets the table with a plate, a fork, and a glass of water. She sits down and takes her first bite of the pasta. It tastes creamy and delicious. This is the perfect dinner, she thinks happily. As she eats, Emma thinks about her day. She feels proud of all the small things she accomplished. Today was simple but special, she says to herself with a smile. After finishing her meal, Emma cleans the kitchen. She washes the dishes and wipes the counters. She enjoys ending her day in a clean and tidy space. With dinner done, Emma makes herself a cup of tea. She chooses a mint tea bag and places it in a cup of hot water. The smell of mint fills the room. She carries her tea to the living room. Emma sits by the window and sips her tea slowly. She watches the stars twinkling in the night sky. The cool breeze from the open window feels refreshing. To relax further, Emma decides to read a few more pages of her book. She picks it up from the couch and opens to where she left off. The story of Lily finding the treasure keeps her hooked. Emma laughs at a funny part in the story and feels connected to the characters. Reading is one of her favorite ways to end the day. Books are like magic, she thinks. As the clock strikes 9, Emma starts to feel sleepy. She puts the book down and stretches. "It's time to get ready for bed," she says softly. Emma goes to her bathroom to brush her teeth. She looks at herself in the mirror and smiles. "Good night, Emma," she says with a little laugh. She changes into her pajamas, which are soft and warm. She turns off the lights in her house, leaving only a small nightlight on in her bedroom. Emma gets into bed and pulls the blanket over herself. The bed feels soft and comforting. She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. Before falling asleep, Emma thinks about tomorrow. Another new day, another chance to enjoy life, she whispers to herself. With that thought, she drifts off to sleep peacefully. The night is quiet, and Emma sleeps peacefully in her cozy bed. Outside, the moon shines brightly, casting a soft glow over her small garden. The gentle rustling of leaves creates a calming sound. Emma dreams of a beautiful place she has never seen before. In her dream, she is walking on a sandy beach. The sand is warm under her feet, and the waves gently touch her toes. She feels happy and free. In her dream, she meets a friendly dog. The dog wags its tail and runs beside her. Emma laughs as she plays fetch with the dog. She throws a stick, and the dog brings it back every time. The dream becomes even more magical. Emma finds a small wooden boat by the shore. She steps into the boat, and it starts to move gently across the water. The ocean sparkles like diamonds under the moonlight. As she looks around, Emma sees an island in the distance. The island is full of colorful flowers and tall trees. Birds sing sweetly in the background. It feels like a perfect, peaceful world. On the island, Emma meets kind people who welcome her with smiles. They offer her fresh fruits like mangoes, bananas, and coconuts. She tastes the sweet fruit and feels so happy. Suddenly, Emma hears a soft sound calling her name. It feels warm and comforting, like a whisper in the wind. The sound gets louder, and she slowly wakes up from her dream. Emma opens her eyes and looks around her bedroom. The nightlight grows softly, and everything feels calm and safe. She takes a deep breath and remembers her dream. What a wonderful dream, Emma says to herself. She feels grateful for the magical moments in her mind. Dreams like this make her night special and exciting. Emma looks at her bedside clock. It is still early in the morning, so she decides to stay in bed a little longer. She pulls her blanket closer and closes her eyes again. As she lies in bed, she thinks about all the things she will do the next day. She plans to take a walk in the park, call her best friend, and try a new recipe for lunch. The thought of a new day makes Emma feel excited. Every day is a gift, she thinks. She decides to write about her dream in her journal when she wakes up. Emma slowly drifts back to sleep. This time, she dreams of flying through the sky like a bird. She feels the wind on her face and sees the world from above. It is another peaceful and happy dream. The night passes quietly, and soon the first rays of sunlight peek through Emma's window. The light falls on her face, gently waking her up. She stretches and yawns. Emma gets out of bed feeling fresh and rested. She opens the window to let in the morning air. The smell of flowers and the sound of chirping birds fill her room. "Good morning, world," Emma says with a smile. She feels ready to start her day. She makes her bed neatly and heads to the kitchen to prepare her morning tea. As Emma sips her tea, she thinks about her dream again. She decides to share it with her friend later. Dreams make life more colorful, she says to herself. Emma starts her morning routine, feeling thankful for the peaceful night and sweet dreams. She knows that every day is a chance to enjoy life and make it meaningful. With a happy heart and a calm mind, Emma begins her day. She feels ready to embrace whatever comes her way, one small moment at a time. Emma wakes up early, feeling excited. Today is the day she will travel to a new country. She has been planning this trip for months and is ready for the adventure. The sun is shining, and the weather is perfect for her journey. Emma quickly gets out of bed and starts her morning routine. She brushes her teeth, washes her face, and combs her hair. She chooses comfortable clothes to wear for the long trip ahead. Her suitcase is already packed and waiting by the door. In the kitchen, Emma makes a quick breakfast. She prepares toast with butter and pours herself a glass of orange juice. As she eats, she checks her travel documents one more time. Her passport, ticket, and hotel confirmation are all in her bag. After breakfast, Emma takes a deep breath. She feels a mix of excitement and nervousness about her trip. She looks around her house to make sure she hasn't forgotten anything. Then, she picks up her suitcase and heads out the door. Emma calls a taxi to take her to the airport. The taxi arrives quickly, and she loads her suitcase into the trunk. The driver greets her with a smile and asks where she is going. Emma tells him she is traveling to Paris, and the driver wishes her a safe journey. The ride to the airport is smooth and quick. Emma looks out the window and watches the city pass by. She thinks about all the wonderful things she will see and do in Paris. Her heart races with excitement as the airport comes into view. When Emma arrives at the airport, she feels a little overwhelmed. The airport is busy with people rushing to catch their flights. Emma takes a deep breath and reminds herself to stay calm. She follows the signs to the check-in counter. At the check-in counter, Emma gives her passport and ticket to the airline staff. They smile and confirm her flight details. They also weigh her suitcase and attach a tag to it. Emma feels relieved when they hand her a boarding pass and wish her a good trip. Next, Emma heads to the security checkpoint. She places her bag, shoes, and jacket on a conveyor belt. The security officer asks her to walk through the scanner, and everything goes smoothly. Emma collects her belongings and continues on her way. With time to spare, Emma decides to explore the airport. She walks past shops selling souvenirs, books, and snacks. She stops at a cafe to buy a cup of coffee. Sitting at a table, she sips her coffee and watches planes take off and land outside the window. Finally, it is time for Emma to board her flight. She hears the announcement for her flight to Paris and gathers her things. She walks to the gate and shows her boarding pass to the staff. They smile and direct her to the plane. Emma finds her seat near the window and settles in. She stores her bag under the seat in front of her and fastens her seatbelt. As the plane starts to move, Emma feels a mix of excitement and nervousness again. She takes a deep breath and smiles. The plane takes off smoothly, and Emma looks out the window. The city below gets smaller and smaller as the plane climbs higher. Emma feels amazed as she sees the clouds up close. She thinks about how incredible it is to fly. During the flight, Emma spends time reading a book. The story keeps her entertained and makes the time pass quickly. The flight attendant serves snacks and drinks, and Emma chooses a sandwich and some juice. She enjoys her meal while watching the clouds outside. As the flight continues, Emma feels a little tired. She adjusts her seat and closes her eyes for a short nap. The hum of the airplane engine helps her relax. She dreams about all the exciting things she will do in Paris. After a few hours, the captain announces that they are about to land. Emma wakes up and looks out the window. She can see the lights of Paris shining brightly below. Her excitement grows as the plane gets closer to the ground. The plane lands smoothly, and Emma feels a rush of happiness. She is finally in Paris, a city she has always dreamed of visiting. She waits patiently as other passengers gather their belongings. When it is her turn, she stands up and grabs her bag. Emma follows the signs to the baggage claim area. She waits at the carousel for her suitcase to arrive. When she sees it, She feels relieved and quickly takes it. With her suitcase in hand, she heads to the exit. Outside the airport, Emma feels the cool evening breeze. She takes a moment to soak in the atmosphere of Paris. Everything feels new and exciting to her. She looks around and finds a taxi waiting nearby. Emma tells the taxi driver the name of her hotel. The driver nods and starts driving through the city. Emma looks out the window and sees the Eiffel Tower in the distance. She can't believe she is finally here. The taxi ride is peaceful, and Emma feels grateful for this moment. She reaches her hotel and checks in at the reception desk. The staff greets her warmly and gives her the key to her room. Emma thanks them and takes the elevator to her floor. When Emma enters her room, she feels happy and tired. She places her suitcase near the bed and looks around. The room is cozy and has a beautiful view of the city. Emma sits on the bed and takes a deep breath. Emma decides to freshen up before going to sleep. She changes into her pajamas and washes her face. She feels relaxed and ready for a good night's rest. She sets an alarm on her phone and climbs into bed. As Emma lies in bed, she thinks about her journey so far. She feels proud of herself for taking this big step. She knows tomorrow will be full of adventures in Paris. With a smile on her face, Emma falls asleep. Emma wakes up to the soft light of the morning sun streaming through her window. She feels refreshed and excited for her first day in Paris. She gets out of bed and opens the curtains to see the beautiful view of the city. The Eiffel Tower glimmers in the distance, and she can't wait to explore. Emma heads to the bathroom to start her morning routine. She brushes her teeth, washes her face, and combs her hair. She decides to wear her favorite outfit, a comfortable dress and sneakers for walking. Her plan is to explore as many places as she can today. Downstairs in the hotel dining area, Emma enjoys a delicious breakfast. She chooses a croissant, some fresh fruit, and a cup of hot coffee. The croissant is warm and buttery, and Emma savors every bite. She reads a small travel guide as she eats, planning her route for the day. Her first stop is the Eiffel Tower, one of the most famous landmarks in the world. Emma takes a taxi to the tower and feels a sense of awe as she sees it up close. The structure is even more magnificent than she imagined, towering high into the sky. Emma buys a ticket to go up the Eiffel Tower. She takes the elevator, which moves smoothly to the top. As she steps out, she is greeted by a breathtaking view of Paris. She can see the river Seine, the streets lined with trees, and the rooftops of the city. She takes out her phone and snaps some photos to capture the moment. Emma smiles as she thinks about sharing these pictures with her friends and family. The cool breeze at the top of the tower makes her feel calm and happy. After spending some time at the Eiffel Tower, Emma decides to explore the nearby Champs de Mars Park. The park is filled with colorful flowers, green grass, and people enjoying the sunny day. Emma finds a bench to sit on and watches children play and couples walk hand in hand. Next, Emma visits the Louvre Museum, another famous place in Paris. The museum is home to many beautiful works of art, including the Mona Lisa. Emma stands in line to buy a ticket and feels excited as she enters the grand building. Inside the Louvre, Emma is amazed by the paintings and sculptures around her. She walks through the large halls, taking her time to admire each piece. When she finally sees the Mona Lisa, she feels a sense of wonder. The painting is smaller than she expected, but it is truly beautiful. Emma continues exploring the museum for a few hours. She feels inspired by the art and the history of the place. She takes a break at the museum cafe and enjoying a light lunch and reflecting on everything she has seen. After leaving the museum, Emma strolls along the river Seine. The river sparkles under the afternoon sun, and boats float gently on the water, she decides to take a short boat tour to see more of the city. On the boat, Emma listens to the guide talk about the history of Paris. She learns interesting facts about the bridges and buildings they pass. The tour is peaceful, and Emma feels relaxed as she takes in the beauty of the city from the water. In the evening, Emma heads to Montmartre, a charming neighborhood known for its art and culture. The streets are narrow and lined with small shops and cafes. Emma walks slowly, enjoying the lively atmosphere and the sound of street musicians. At the top of Montmartre, Emma reaches the Sacré-Cœur, or Basilica. The white church looks stunning against the darkening sky. Emma climbs the steps and is rewarded with another incredible view of Paris. She sits on the steps for a while, listening to a man play the guitar. The music is soft and soothing, and Emma feels at peace. She thinks about how magical this city is and how happy she is to be here. For dinner, Emma chooses a small restaurant nearby. She orders a classic French meal of onion soup and a slice of quiche. The food is delicious, and Emma takes her time to enjoy every bite. She feels grateful for this wonderful day. After dinner, Emma decides to take a slow walk back to her hotel. The streets are lit with warm yellow lights, and the city feels alive. She passes by bakeries, bookstores, and flower shops, all glowing in the evening light. Back at her hotel, Emma feels tired but happy. She takes a warm shower to relax and changes into her pajamas. She looks at the photos she took during the day and smiles. Each picture reminds her of the special moments she experienced. Emma writes a short entry in her travel journal before going to bed. She describes the sights, sounds, and feelings of her first day in Paris. She knows this is a memory she will treasure forever. As Emma lies in bed, she thinks about her plans for tomorrow. There are still so many places she wants to visit and things she wants to do. With a heart full of joy, Emma closes her eyes and drifts off to sleep. Emma wakes up feeling excited about her next adventure in France. Today, she plans to visit the Palace of Versailles, a grand and historic landmark just outside Paris. The morning sunlight streams through her window as she gets ready for the day. She picks a comfortable outfit, knowing she'll be walking a lot. After a quick breakfast at the hotel, Emma heads to the train station. The station is busy, filled with travelers speaking different languages. She buys her ticket and finds the right platform. The train arrives, and Emma finds a seat by the window. The ride to Versailles is peaceful. Emma watches the scenery change from the bustling streets of Paris to the quiet suburbs. The trees and small houses along the way make her smile. She feels curious about what lies ahead. When Emma arrives in Versailles, she follows the signs to the palace. The walk is short, and soon she sees the golden gates of the palace shining in the sun. The sight takes her breath away. The palace looks like something out of a fairy tale. Emma buys her ticket and joins a small group of tourists entering the palace. The grand entrance hall is filled with marble floors, tall ceilings, and sparkling chandeliers. Emma takes a moment to admire the beauty around her. The tour guide begins to explain the history of the palace. Emma learns that it was once the home of French kings and queens. The guide talks about King Louis XV, who made the palace famous. Emma listens carefully, fascinated by the stories. Inside the palace, Emma walks through the Hall of Mirrors. The long hall is lined with large mirrors on one side and tall windows on the other. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling, and the sunlight makes everything sparkle. Emma feels like she is walking through history. The next room is the king's bedroom. The walls are covered in rich fabric, and the bed is large with golden details. The guide explains how the king's daily routine was full of ceremonies and traditions. Emma finds it interesting to learn about life in the past. Emma also visits the queen's apartments. The rooms are elegant and colorful, with beautiful paintings on the walls. Emma imagines what it must have been like to live here as a queen. She feels a mix of wonder and curiosity. After exploring the palace, Emma heads outside to see the gardens. The gardens of Versailles are huge, with neatly trimmed hedges, fountains, and statues. The air smells fresh, and Emma enjoys the peaceful atmosphere. She walks along the gravel paths, taking her time to admire the flowers and trees. The fountains are especially beautiful, with water flowing gracefully. Emma takes a few pictures to remember this moment. Emma finds a small cafe in the garden and decides to take a break. She orders a cup of tea and a sweet pastry. Sitting under a shady tree, Emma feels relaxed and happy. She thinks about how lucky she is to experience this place. In the afternoon, Emma visits the Grand Trianon, a smaller palace on the grounds of Versailles. The pink marble building is charming and less crowded. Emma enjoys the quiet as she explores the rooms. She also visits the Petit Trianon, which was Queen Marie Antoinette's private retreat. The small palace feels cozy and personal. Emma learns about Marie Antoinette's life and the challenges she faced as a queen. Near the Petit Trianon, Emma discovers a small village built by Marie Antoinette. The village looks like something out of a storybook, with tiny cottages, gardens, and a pond. Emma feels like she has stepped back in time. As the day comes to an end, Emma makes her way back to the main palace. She takes one last look at the golden gates and the beautiful gardens. She feels grateful for the chance to visit such an amazing place. On the train ride back to Paris, Emma reflects on her day. She thinks about all the history she learned and the beauty she saw. She feels inspired and excited for what tomorrow will bring. When Emma reaches her hotel, she feels tired but content. She takes a warm shower and changes into her pajamas. She writes a long entry in her travel journal, describing every detail of her visit to Versailles. Emma looks at the pictures she took during the day. Each photo reminds her of a special moment. She smiles and feels proud of herself for exploring and learning so much. Before going to bed, Emma sets her alarm for the next day. She has more adventures planned and can't wait to see what's next. With a heart full of memories, Emma closes her eyes and falls asleep. Emma wakes up feeling refreshed and ready for a new day in Paris. Today, her plan is to explore Montmartre, a historic and artistic neighborhood, and end the evening with a peaceful cruise on the Seine River. The thought of visiting such iconic places fills her with excitement. After enjoying a quick breakfast at her hotel, Emma grabs her small backpack and heads out. She takes the metro to Montmartre, a charming area known for its narrow streets and bohemian vibe. As she steps off the train, she immediately feels the unique energy of the place. Emma begins her walk up the hill toward the Basilica of Sacré-Cœur. The cobblestone streets are lined with small shops and cafes and colorful flowers. She notices artists painting on the sidewalks, their work capturing scenes of Paris. Emma stops for a moment to admire their talent. When Emma reaches the top of the hill, she sees the magnificent white dome of Sacré-Cœur. The basilica stands tall, overlooking the city. Emma takes a deep breath and walks inside. The air is quiet, and the beauty of the stained glass windows takes her breath away. After spending some time inside the basilica, Emma steps out to enjoy the view. From the hill, she can see the entire city of Paris. The Eiffel Tower stands proudly in the distance, and the rooftops stretch as far as the eye can see. Emma feels a sense of peace and wonder. Next, Emma explores the streets of Montmartre. She visits Place du Tertre, a lively square filled with artists and tourists. The square is full of life, with painters creating portraits and street musicians playing cheerful tunes. Emma decides to buy a small painting as a souvenir. Feeling hungry, Emma finds a quaint little cafe nearby. She orders a croissant and a cup of coffee. The cafe has a cozy atmosphere, with soft music playing in the background. Emma sits by the window, watching people pass by. After her meal, Emma continues to explore Montmartre. She visits a small museum dedicated to the history of the neighborhood. The museum tells the story of Montmartre's artistic past, including famous painters like Picasso and Van Gogh who once lived there. Emma stumbles upon the Wall of Love, a unique attraction in Montmartre. The wall is covered in the phrase, "I love you," written in over 300 languages. Emma takes a picture in front of the wall, feeling the universal message of love and connection. As the afternoon turns into evening, Emma makes her way back to the Seine River for her boat cruise. She has been looking forward to this part of the day. The river sparkles under the setting sun, and the air is cool and refreshing. Emma boards the boat and finds a seat on the open deck. The boat slowly begins its journey, gliding gently along the river. The city lights start to twinkle, and the Eiffel Tower comes into view, glowing beautifully in the night. The cruise takes Emma past some of Paris's most famous landmarks. She sees Notre Dame Cathedral, its Gothic architecture lit up against the dark sky. The guide on the boat shares interesting facts about each landmark, and Emma listens intently. The Louvre Museum looks magical at night, with its glass pyramid glowing softly. Emma thinks about how incredible it is to see these iconic places from a different perspective. The gentle movement of the boat adds to the relaxing experience. As the boat approaches the Eiffel Tower, it begins to sparkle with thousands of lights. The sight is breathtaking, and Emma feels like she is in a dream. She takes a video to capture the moment, knowing she'll want to remember this forever. The cruise ends near the Pont Alexandre Gazet, one of the most beautiful bridges in Paris. Emma steps off the boat, feeling calm and inspired. She takes a moment to admire the bridge, its golden statues shining under the streetlights. Emma decides to end her evening with a leisurely walk along the riverbank. The city feels peaceful at night, with fewer people around. She hears the gentle sound of the water and the distant hum of the city. Back at her hotel, Emma feels grateful for such a wonderful day. She writes about her adventures in her journal, describing the beauty of Montmartre and the magic of the Seine River. She feels proud of herself for exploring new places and making unforgettable memories. As she gets ready for bed, Emma thinks about all the amazing experiences she has had so far. She smiles, feeling excited for tomorrow's adventure. With a heart full of joy, she closes her eyes and falls asleep, dreaming of the wonders that await her. Emma wakes up early on her last full day in France, excited to visit the Palace of Versailles. She has read so much about its history and beauty, and now she finally has the chance to see it for herself. After a quick breakfast at her hotel, she sets out for the day. Emma takes the RER train to Versailles, a short ride from Paris. The journey is comfortable, and she enjoys looking out the window as the city transitions to the suburbs. Arriving at the station, she follows the signs to the palace. She sees other tourists heading in the same direction, their excitement matching hers. As Emma approaches the Palace of Versailles, she is struck by its grandeur. The golden gates shine brightly in the sunlight, and the size of the palace is overwhelming. She takes a moment to appreciate the incredible architecture before heading inside. Emma enters the palace and picks up an audio guide to learn more about its history. She starts her tour in the Hall of Mirrors, one of the most famous rooms in Versailles. The long hallway is lined with sparkling mirrors and crystal chandeliers. Emma walks slowly, taking in the beauty around her. The audio guide explains the significance of the Hall of Mirrors, where important treaties were signed and grand events were held. Emma feels connected to the history of the place, imagining the people who once walked these halls. Next, Emma visits the king's grand apartment. The rooms are decorated with rich fabrics, detailed paintings, and ornate furniture. Each room tells a story about the life of King Louis XV, who transformed Versailles into the magnificent palace it is today. Emma's favorite part of the tour is the Queen's apartment, where Marie Antoinette once lived. The rooms are elegant and feminine, with soft colors and intricate designs. Emma learns about the Queen's life and her influence on fashion and culture. After exploring the palace, Emma steps outside to visit the gardens. The gardens of Versailles are vast and perfectly manicured, with fountains, statues, and colorful flowers. Emma feels like she has stepped into a fairy tale as she walks through the winding paths. She finds a quiet spot near a fountain and takes a break. The sound of the water is soothing, and the fresh air fills her lungs. Emma takes out her journal and writes about her experiences so far. She feels inspired by the beauty of nature and history surrounding her. Emma decides to explore more of the estate, including the Trianon Palaces and Marie Antoinette's hamlet. The Grand Trianon is a smaller palace made of pink marble, and Emma is charmed by its simplicity and elegance. She imagines it as a peaceful retreat for the royals. At the hamlet, Emma sees a different side of Versailles. The small village was built for Marie Antoinette as a place to escape the formality of palace life. The thatched cottages and farm animals create a cozy and rustic atmosphere. Emma enjoys walking around the hamlet, taking photos of the picturesque scenery. As the afternoon turns into evening, Emma heads back to the main palace for one last look. She stands in the courtyard, feeling a sense of awe and gratitude. The palace glows under the golden light of the setting sun, creating a magical moment. Emma decides to have dinner at a nearby restaurant before returning to Paris. She finds a charming bistro and orders a classic French meal, coq au vin, and a glass of wine. The food is delicious, and Emma takes her time to savor each bite. During dinner, Emma reflects on her trip to Versailles and the amazing experiences she has had in France. She feels proud of herself for exploring a new country and learning about its history and culture. She also feels grateful for the memories she has created. After dinner, Emma takes the train back to Paris. The city feels familiar now, like a second home. As she walks to her hotel, she thinks about all the wonderful places she has visited and the adventures she has had. Back in her room, Emma starts packing her things for her journey home. She carefully places her souvenirs in her suitcase, including the small painting from Montmartre and postcards from the Eiffel Tower. Each item holds a special memory. Emma writes one last entry in her journal, describing her visit to Versailles and the emotions she felt throughout her trip. She knows this journey has changed her in many ways, making her more confident and curious about the world. As Emma lies in bed, she feels a mix of emotions. She is sad to leave Paris, but excited to return home and share her stories with family and friends. She closes her eyes, dreaming of the day she will return to this beautiful city. The next morning, Emma heads to the airport with her suitcase and a heart full of memories. As the plane takes off, she looks out the window at the city below, promising herself she will come back someday. Paris has become a part of her, and she knows she will carry its magic with her forever.